President Biden in Connecticut today making the case for a key part of his Build Back Better agenda, investing in childcare.
The average two-parent family with two young kids spends 26% of their income on childcare every year. My Build Back Better plan is going to change that. It's going to cut the cost of childcare for most Connecticut families literally in half. No middle-class family will pay more than 7% of their income on childcare. None, period. And that's going to help parents get back into the workforce and make ends meet.
And for more on where this is and the rest of Biden's agenda actually stands in Congress, let's bring in ABC's political director, Rick Klein, now. So, Rick, Congress does return from recess next week. Where do the bipartisan infrastructure deal and that broader social safety net bill stand right now?
Yeah, Kira, they've been stalled for some time with Democrats fighting among themselves about what to include or exclude. And you saw, I think, a preview of what we're going to hear in the coming days. President Biden trying to make the case item by item about what these bills actually mean. I think it's been a shortcoming so far in Democrats trying to sell this, is to try to explain exactly what it would do. And you're starting to hear that fleshed out a bit, and they will be critical negotiations, particularly early next week. President Biden has some foreign travel coming up. We also know about the deadline that Speaker Pelosi has set for the end of the month, Halloween, essentially, to try to get both of those bills passed. So those talks are going to have to, the pace is going to have to pick up, and ultimately it's going to be on President Biden to unite these very disparate and divided wings of his party.
All right, well, you heard him talk today. What's the likelihood that people will see these child care promises turn into actual policy?
The fact that President Biden is highlighting that in particular today in Connecticut, I think, is a tell that that's likely to be part of any final package. It's hard to imagine that he would have put it out there if he wasn't committed to seeing that. But there's a lot in the bill that in addition to child care, universal pre-K, some very expansive climate change provisions, all of these things are now going to be in the balance around what they score in terms of the price tag, what the priority level will be, how long those programs could potentially last. I do think the Democrats continue to have a pretty strong chance of getting something through in terms of the bipartisan infrastructure package and that larger social spending package. And it would appear that this child care provision would be part of that final package. At least that would be the indication as President Biden makes that sale.
All right, another headline that we're talking about. How about that whiplash over the Texas abortion law now? The Justice Department asking the Supreme Court to block the law after a federal appeals court sided with the state of Texas, upholding, as we know, what's considered the most restrictive abortion law in the country. The Supreme Court declined to block it last month. Any reason to think that they'll pick this up now?
The court can do whatever it wants, but it is hard to imagine that having declined to take this up once because of the peculiar enforcement mechanisms. Basically, it's not the state that would enforce this ban. It's individuals. It's hard to imagine the Supreme Court changing course and then saying, oh, hey, wait a second, we're not going to let this happen. This law, there's also a law in Mississippi that are headed to the Supreme Court for challenges more on the merits. But the fact remains, Kira, that abortion is basically not available in the state of Texas. People are driving many hours out of state to try to access the service, or obviously just not getting that access at all. It's a real burden to individuals who want or need an abortion right now. That would seem not to have changed, even with the whiplash that we've seen, judges going in different directions and reversing each other's orders. We're back to the status quo. Again, the Department of Justice is asking the Supreme Court to take it up again. Unlikely to see any action today, but maybe next week we'd hear something else, but they're under no obligation to change their minds.
All right, well, let's stay on that theme of whiplash, shall we? The Mexico policy at the border. You know, we've learned that the Biden administration is making plans compliant now with the judge's order to reinstate that Trump-era border policy next month to make asylum seekers wait in Mexico for their U.S. immigration hearings. Now, this was a policy the president tried to ban his first day of office, as we well remember, and a White House spokesperson now saying that they're still trying to end it. So what's the plan here?
Well, yeah, this is just a setback in court and trying to go ahead with what the court ruled, which was basically to keep that policy in place. We're seeing the administration try to put other safeguards in place, including making sure that individuals get a quicker hearing before a judge while they remain in Mexico. The theory doesn't change. The White House, the president, continue to believe this was an inhumane policy, that people that have to stay in Mexico are subject to horrible conditions and potential violence. None of those facts have changed. What changes the legal landscape, and this is the administration administration reluctantly saying we haven't won so far on the merits. They're going to continue to try. They're going to continue to get hope that the Supreme Court picks it up and sees their side. But it's one of a couple of examples where the rhetoric of the Biden administration hasn't matched the legal reality, and they've been forced to continue something that President Trump put into place, even though they're on record saying it's flat wrong.
This week, the president also talking about the shipping crisis, the supply chain bottlenecks taking place around the country. The White House announced these agreements with the private sector yesterday, as you remember, to get the goods flowing again. But how much can the administration actually do here, Rick? And what kind of political problem do you think this is for the president right now?
Well, I think it's huge, and you add it to inflation concerns, concerns around delays in shipping, and generalized malaise around the economy, and you start to see a cocktail of potentially bad storylines that confront Democrats going into the midterm year next year. But as you mentioned, Kira, this is essentially jawboning with the private sector, getting private industry to try to pick up the slack and try to do what they can. This is not a new set of federal mandates. There's very little that the White House, the federal government can do on their own. All of these issues are so interconnected, interrelated, whether it's inflation or other issues around finding employers, the strikes that are going on now in so many sites around the country. A lot of it is wrapped up also in COVID and COVID recovery. And I think the big picture here for the White House, they recognize that without COVID recovery, without bringing the country back, the rest is just details. And you're in a tough political environment all around.
Rick Klein, I hope it's not tough for you to have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Appreciate it. I plan to.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.